Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Russ, and as always, I would love to give you the market update for this week. So, this is actually a very interesting week because, on one hand side, not so much already gonna happen from now onwards, apart of course of NVDA earnings that I would cover in a bit in today's video. And with all that said, with the current stance that Fed is taking, with inflation being above the target, but not that much above the target that Fed would actually need to go and hike, that still gives me the bullish stance for now, for the few weeks ahead until the new set of economical data might come into effect. S&P and Nasdaq are still overbought in the short term, but despite that, the market remains very resilient and has not declined, and this is very remarkable. The fact that the overbought status is limiting us from the further upside movement is fine, but the fact that we also do not drop on the overbought indicator is providing me the belief that markets in the short term are not yet done. And the current status also suggests to me that bulls don't need to make significant changes and might consider adding positions once this overbought subsides. So when it comes to NVIDIA reports today, I am actually bullish. I have my earnings per share targets significantly higher than the Wall Street, so I would not be surprised in actually NVIDIA continuing higher from here. Well, the thing is, never forget that earnings themselves are not just about the earnings. They are, as markets are forward-looking, are all about guidance. So whatever the guidance could be, we might have the extended volatility, and today I would illustrate how we're gonna take advantage of that when it comes to the crypto markets. Today's video is full on crypto. I understand with this current news on rumors on Ethereum ETF acceptance, that's all guys that you want to hear for now, which is absolutely fine. We're gonna do only crypto today, and then we're gonna come back to the asset classes you prefer on Friday. With all that said, let's go. I propose we start charting with Bitcoin, obviously because with the current level of Bitcoin dominance, roughly around 55%, any Bitcoin move would be reflected on whatever alt you're gonna take. That is why, despite the fact that you might not want to offer yourself the best risk reward on the BTC at this current levels, it is still very important to understand what Bitcoin is going to do. First of all, what is very clear is that we had this market structure break printing the higher high. For those reasons, since we are in the uptrend on the daily, my main question is where do I add and what is my point of invalidation? And this is very clear for me. The add point, and I'm already front running slightly the previous order block around here. This is why I am looking forward to add Bitcoin in this zone between 67,000 and 67,600. with the invalidation point roughly around 65,200 on the way to the new all-time high. How long it's gonna take, we don't know, but if this dip is given, I definitely think this is a great add. And for those reasons, I encourage you all to still have those beats. You can actually split them in that zone, maybe with 6 orders with $100 difference and see which one's gonna be filled. If, despite that, we still are trading here and not accepting below that zone, then yes, fine. Now we're gonna have a different scenario and we can start adding above 69,000. But taking into account the NVDA earnings and the volatility in the stock market, that definitely would be coming from this taking into account the upcoming NVDA earnings today, I still think that this $1 trillion+ company and the volatility that would kick in with its earnings can definitely affect the entire market, including Nasdaq and including Bitcoin, thanks to Nasdaq. And this is why I encourage you to set up those beats in the zone, expecting that NVIDIA earnings and the future guidance can cause those opportunity into the market. When it comes to Bitcoin dominance, I am quite happy to see that this is the zone where we initially have breaking out from. The 55% zone is starting to serve as a resistance right now. Nevertheless, I'm not yet excluding the fact that we still have to bounce and probably even swipe those highs, giving a certain bullish narrative for the Bitcoin dominance. So please be careful rushing into the alts right here. This is the first message, and I emphasize why. The second message is still 56% can be the resistance. So once we bounce and either reject at 55 or 56 or even swipe 56, the ability to stay below 56% is giving us an incredible opportunity to add up on total 2 and total 3 and for the altcoins to run. So looking at an Ethereum Bitcoin chart that I've been showing on Friday, this is obviously the move, the strong vector candle on the daily associated with the rumors around the Ethereum ETF acceptance. But without the rumors, I've been already giving this reversal in our group. So we were actually prepared for the Ethereum move all the way here with this engulfing daily candle closure on Friday, where I've been also showcasing you that chart in our stream. Right now, ETH BTC is overextended, but what's the great thing to see here is obviously a no-brainer. This market structure break. The previous high have been reclaimed with a higher high, and we are currently slightly overextended. You can see those RSI, the green line and the blue line is so-called Bollinger Band for an RSI, or the probability distribution of RSI taking such a huge move is quite low. So obviously for many traders that will be considered as taking profit opportunity or a so-called overbought zone. Once again, I want to emphasize it, and emphasizing it every time. Overbought and oversold is at certain point an ability to get wrecked if you're just clearly acting upon them and nothing else, but it can be a nice confluence. And a confluence here comes from the fact that we also are rejecting from this yellow line of mine that has been here for years. You can come to the any previous video you see. This is not the line I've added right now. This is the line that has been serving as a resistance for Ethereum BTC since a while. And this is why I would expect us to retrace and to retest the high of that previous range. So where we are, roughly 5.2% or 5.3%. So this is the zone I would consider Ethereum BTC needs to retrace. It doesn't look so much, but it is still roughly 3-4% from the highs. And in my opinion, if you're really wanting to allocate to Ethereum, and I'll show you in a second where, you have to wait first for that zone to be retested. Why? Because we also expect a correction on BTC. So if BTC is correcting and if BTC is correcting on top of that versus BTC, there is no point to FOMO in right here, right now. Moreover, the funding starts to get slightly heated here. We are not yet, of course, at 3-digit level, but some of the alts across various exchanges are roughly at around 30, 40, sometimes 50% on the yearly funding. So what I will be looking at here is the definitely certain correction on Ethereum and other altcoins. Why? Well, because I also have noticed the significant open interest, and as piled in on that move, the cumulative volume delta and open interest have been pumping up. And what happens here is we are not able to sustain this uptrend any longer. So we start not being able to print the higher high. So what's going to happen with all of those longs, all of that level of longs that has entered in the last couple of days when the funding starts to get heated, and those people are being charged 40, 50, 60, 70% per year for holding up their large positions, sometimes contributes to hundreds of thousands of dollars per day for maintaining that. Well, they will start taking profits. I'm not saying there is yet a need to short, but I'm saying that if you are not yet long, we might have the certain swipe to cleanse those longs, and then on the reclaim you can re-enter again. And if I am coming back to the chart where those levels are, I outline them in the yellow lines. With the yellow lines you can place your limit orders. 3,450, apologize, all the way to 3,650. So I would actually go on the teal street and place, let's say, 10 limit bids. You can also, of course, do it manually. That's not a problem. And that would coincide, in my opinion, with the correction on the overextended stochastic and also overextended RSI that we had here. Moreover, if I'm gonna go on 4 hourly, obviously that number of green vector candles that we have here and here, they are normally have to be reclaimed. Why? Because as I am not tired to remind you every time, for someone to go long, someone has to go short. So if there is a lot of retail people that went long on those rumors of the ETF acceptance, obviously market maker had their position short. That's not beneficial for the market maker to continue straight up from here, because they are at a loss and they're not gonna run at a 30% of their loss. So what they will be looking for is for a certain event which can be news driven, which can be earnings driven. Don't forget we have NVDA today. That can be also driven by any other rumor to counteract on that rumor. And as you see, our Gary Gensler coming out and saying that despite they're working, there's still some questions and so on and so forth. Easy, we can have those 8% move down. So if you're not in the position, if you were not following the signals and alerts, we've been accumulating Ethereum from that first engulfing candle on ETH BTC. Some people get filled around 3,000, some people get filled around 3,100, some people did not get filled. That's okay, we're gonna get filled at those levels. Now, with all that said, what are the altcoin charts that are the most interesting to me? But first of all, let's review very briefly how our longs from the last stream on Friday, just a few days ago, are doing. Let's listen to this.
That's the reason I was waiting to go long. As a value investor, you would say, oh, I want to go long as cheap as possible and then sit on my trade for years. As the trader, I am operating in a different mindset. I'd like to the supply, first of all, to be resolved, and Solana to accept in the previous range, and then I know I am in the previous range low, so my target would be at least $200 to the range high, and that's where I'd like my capital to be allocated. So I am...
So Solana has been doing quite well, and as I mentioned on Friday, we've been accepting within this range high. That was one of the few altcoins that have been already reclaiming the upper bands of this range, and that's the reason why we went long. We are longing the strengths, we are not longing the weakness, and this is why Solana right now is around 15-16% up, has been up 20% yesterday, and I am thinking it is not yet done. So if you are still in Solana, I will keep it at least until the psychological target of 200. If you're not in Solana, that's not a problem. I'm gonna show you in a second where we're gonna enter. The first option I am seeing here is 176 to enter at this range low with the Titan validation at 173 and the target at least of 185 to this order block that caused us the market structure break eventually. And it's not like a crazy thing, but it's a nice scalp on the 3 risk reward. If you are more of a holder or fundamental investor, that I would try actually to beat 169, somewhere around that hammer hourly candle. I think we also potentially can dip there after we bounce from this retrace. I would be looking at something like that. And what is also giving me an interesting outlook is the Sol ETH on the hourly. We start to retrace or looking forward to get back. And I think, as I mentioned on the previous stream, like eventually those highs of 5.7%, it will be taken. So looking at 4 hourly, I think obviously this is like ETF Ethereum driven dump. But Solana is one of the fastest ones to retrace, so either Solana itself or the tokens on Solana ecosystem, which I would not cover here. For now, we don't have time for those to go in each particular project, but let me know in the comments down below if you think that there are some better betas to Solana. Sounds funny, but I will be very curious to hear if there is something in the Sol ecosystem that you tremendously believe gonna outperform Solana. Now, what about the second one? And the second one was API 3. Let's see, what was our game plan back then?
And in any case, what's really important for me is that we accept above that range, and I think we have a good candidate for that. So I just showed you CRV that has no strength, and now I'm seeing API 3 that's already on the top of the range. What I'm going to do here, I'm also going to go to Coin Analyze, and I'm going to see what I see. The negative funding, people start to short here. On top of that, the open interest increase, price increase, volume needs to pick up. We are in the top range. Of course, everyone is waiting, so wait for the acceptance. Don't long right now. But so far, it seems like quite a sustained move from my perspective. So API 3 should be your candidate as soon as give it a few more for our candle closures. As soon as API 3 accepts above those range high, then on top of that, considering the link strength, I think that is an amazing alt to get long. And in that case, my stop loss is the previous daily closure, let's say 234. I don't want it to go much lower. I understand that it can, retrace a little bit down, but I don't want the candle to close as an engulfing red candle to the current green one. And my TP1 is, well, let's get a little bit more conservative. My TP1 is 3.45, my TP2 is 4.1, and
all right, so that was our API 3 trade, and let's see how did that unfold. I am happy for those who is actually into this API trade because it is actually doing quite well. We have been filled, and moreover, we are clearly doing what we were supposed to do. We are accepting above this range. So from the moment that Bitcoin gives us a breather, I think API 3 will be one of the first coins to run and to take all this inefficiency here. Also, if you see right now on the market, most of the altcoins correcting today, but API 3 is still in green. So clearly one of those expectations of NVDA earnings would bring the volatility back into the market. I think that would be the first one to benefit from the upside volatility. So the trade is doing great. We've been filled, we were not kicked out, and we're gonna stay in for the next 30, 40, 50% run. But if API 3 is gonna run, what are other coins that I believe can benefit? I think definitely the AI narrative is gonna do well, and you would notice the strength of AI coin charts. For example, Fetch or FET, the ticker, FET, you already see same picture. We are start to accept above that range, but moreover, honestly, how strong the chart looks like comparing to others. Same applies to ICP, but not exactly. So yeah, ICP, I would probably not be that curious, also due to this market cap. Render, amazing chart. Render is one of the strongest charts down there. So if you'd like to see my levels on Render, those gonna be, I would say something like that. 10.4, it's gonna be the level I would like to bid on this retest, tiny retest of this previous range, if it's given. And I would like the Render not to start accepting below this week. I mean, I would actually honestly take Render on spot and I would like to introduce also the concept of the manual stop loss. I already introduced it in our Telegram group. When I trade spots, I don't want those open interest liquidation weeks to affect my positions. So I would actually exit the position on 1 hourly candle acceptance below this week, because then we're gonna start transacting in the previous value area. So we will start transacting here, and I have no interest to wait for my capital bleeding here for days or weeks. I want quick ins, quick outs, and that's how I compound my portfolio no matter what. In my portfolio, both crypto and stocks is an all-time high, so I'm actually confident in what I'm doing. So I think that's quite an efficient strategy, you know, to maximize the momentum plays from the top gainers. However, for those who is feeling not so confident about longing or allocating into the top, there are also a bunch of traditional alts with good narratives and sustainable use cases such as curve, that are also starting to accept the above the range high. And as you remember from my videos, the concept of the fair value gap. The fair value gap is tremendous here, related to the Iran-Israeli confrontation. That's where we had those news-driven liquidations, and this is where our fair value gaps are. So fair value gap, for those who forget, this is the gap between the following candle top week, in this case this is here, and the previous candle bottom, in this case this is here, roughly at 60 cents. So the difference between the following candle and the previous candle in this case is more than 20%. This is a tremendous opportunity to retrace into those value, and this is very simple. I mean, we are not always, of course, recovering that gap. That this gap comes from the auction market theory that actually says when the particular asset, a particular commodity or equity or whatever the underlying asset is, it doesn't matter, but when it trades too quickly and the value varies significantly. And of course, after the previously mentioned correction is over, you can start looking at the relative Bitcoin charts. So Pepe BTC, for example, has already provided us the strength in the last couple of days after this retrace. And bam, amazing move off. It doesn't show me the percentage for a second. Actually, yes, now we can see roughly 50% move within 2 days. So what I'm gonna be looking at, if the meme coin mania is gonna still continue, obviously the large memes are gonna benefit from the ETH narrative. When we're gonna look at the Dodge to the BTC chart, I see here that we are clearly holding this line at around 221, and if we're gonna retrace here slightly, I guess that's gonna happen overall with the Bitcoin dominance taking a little breather here as we discussed. Please don't forget. Maybe take some notes as well so you can relate to a particular points of entry. Here we're gonna be looking to beat again, and in this case it is quite probable that Doge to Bitcoin can do easily like 20-30% on this up move. So once this breather takes place, once that uncertainty related to NVDA earnings is resolved, I think we're gonna have the very interesting continuation of the week. And for those reasons, I'm gonna be also back with the Friday update on how those things are unfolding. So please stay tuned. With all that said, and with so many opportunities in the markets to compound your wealth, it makes me intrinsically very sad to see a lot of my friends actually still having most of their retirement in some mutual funds where the portfolio managers are charging them 2% from the volume, the management fee, and so on and so forth. It is very simple to understand, guys. Once you charge someone 2%, you're not concentrated on profitability and drawdowns. You are concentrated on sales. So you use this 2% from multiple billion-dollar fund you manage to hire better salespeople and to sell your solution, give affiliates, rebates, various other programs. So yeah, you're gonna hire smart people to tell you the story that 6% per year is great and keep selling more. With all that said, I believe you need to take the certain accountability for your retirement here, be able to avoid those hefty fees, but also be able to save on taxes. And the best way to do that is, in my opinion, moving your trading portfolio to your IRA account or your Roth IRA account, rolling over to iTrust Capital. That allows not just buying and selling stocks, but also allows to buy and sell crypto or gold or silver and conduct those trades 24/7. Unlike the traditional markets, it has no monthly fees, it has no hidden fees whatsoever. And on top of that, it's actually for the DataDash viewers offering the sign-up bonus. So yeah, in my opinion, it is something honest and beneficial that I would personally recommend to do. But with all that said, guys, I'd love to wish you all a very successful continuation of the week. Please don't forget, a lot of volatility is still in the markets. I'm gonna see you all on Friday. We're gonna also check how the silver trades are doing, and let me know in the comment section down below if for this week there is a particular asset class that you want me to focus on Friday. With all that said, stay safe and I see you soon.